A healthy masculine man should not be allowing his woman to drive a car. This statement is very bold, very triggering. Some women listening to this might think that is unbelievably sexist and archaic, and we're going right back to the early 1900s. But bear with me. This title is somewhat clickbaity, but not really. It's actually also 100% true, and I believe it. But we got to explore the nuance together. We got to explain why this is actually all about serving a woman and allowing her to be in her feminine energy. Because that's what this is all about. Masculine and feminine polarity is not about controlling a woman. It's not about limiting her freedom. It's about unburdening her and allowing her to operate as much as possible in her feminine energy. And unfortunately, in our very polarity inverted society today, we have many women who are operating in their masculine energy way too much, especially when in a relationship with a man. And so what got me thinking about this is I was reading my book, by the way. I may as well show it and plug it. Inspire His Devotion. All of my books, all 5 of them, you can find on Amazon by typing in my name, Zach Rohde, in the Amazon search bar. But I was writing about how when I was single, and also earlier on in my relationship with my now wife, I had women that would drive me around in their car. I didn't have a car. I lived in downtown Toronto, and they would pick me up and they would take me places. They would spend money on me on dates and certain events and everything, and they would be driving me around in their car. That is completely inverted. That's a really big problem, because in a healthy relationship or a healthy dating dynamic, it is the man that is leading. It is the man that is providing. He is there to take care of his woman, and the woman is there to be taken care of and to be in her feminine energy. And what makes this a great equal experience for the man is that the woman is being submissive, she's being respectful, she's receptive to his lead. And that's what feels good for the man, because he likes being the man. He likes being in that leader role. He likes giving to, providing for a receptive, respectful, feminine woman. So when a woman is driving a man around in the car, she is in the masculine role. She is providing that service of driving, and if it's her car, then also providing the service of being in that car. Even worse if the man isn't paying for gas money, which I didn't, because I was such a selfish, inconsiderate man. But there's a lot of men that are like this, right? I have many women clients who've experienced men that are like this. Men who can otherwise actually be just like me, could be quite charming and quite fun and quite loving, but they're not considerate and they're not choosing to step into that masculine provider role. We're going to talk about all of this and more very shortly, but first I'm going to introduce myself. Hello, my name is Zach Rohde. I'm here to lead you into creating the relationship of your dreams using feminine energy and what I call feminine communication to inspire a man into cherishing you. If you've not yet subscribed to this channel, make sure you do that below. Hit the notification bell and be sure to like this video, because I'm going to make sure that it's a good one for you today. And if you would like help learning how to shift out of your unhealthy control patterns, then go below this video, open up the description. You're going to see the links to all of my offers. Great place to start is my free webinar, where I will show you what your unhealthy control patterns are and what to do about it. And that's at zachrohdecoaching.com. All right, so a woman who is driving a man around is not going to feel good about it. Now, if you tend to really identify with being like a good, loving, giving person, then part of your ego, your identity, will be validated by doing something like this. Like, oh, I'm making my man's life so much easier. But instinctually, if you are in touch with your feminine instinct, that part will not feel good. You will sense that there is something off in what is going on. But you're doing it, right? Because this is a wounding, right? A woman who is in the giving role, that's a wounding. You do it typically because you were trained in childhood to be in the giving role, either for your parents or for other people. You were intrinsically not enough, so you had to be more by being in the giving role. It's not a good place for a woman to be. You're supposed to be in the receiving role. And of course, a man, you might not volunteer to do this. The absolute worst thing is when a woman actually volunteers to be driving a man around and to be in the giving role. But a close second is when a woman chooses to follow a man's leadership, where he's like, hey, let's go in your car and we'll go do this and you can drive me around, basically. You want to be a good person. You don't want to be combative. You don't want to be rocking the boat. You don't want to be hurting his feelings. You don't want to be selfish. So you comply with that leadership and you drive him around, even when it doesn't feel really good. And the problem is, it's typically not just a one-time thing, right? Because a man who leads a woman to do this is probably going to lead her to do it again and again and again, and it's going to keep coming up. It's going to keep coming up until you learn how to shift into your self-worth and you start communicating how you feel being in this role and asking him for help, and also be willing to not comply to this leadership and choose to not be in that role just because it doesn't feel good for you. We'll talk about that near the end of this video. So, shifting gears for a moment, let's talk about the title of my video, the truth about why healthy masculine men don't allow their women to drive, which can, purposely triggering and kind of clickbaity, because women are going to look at that and be like, wow, this is super oppressive. What is this jerk talking about? What I mean by this is a healthy masculine man is going to want to stay in the masculine role with his woman no matter what. Even sometimes if it's inconvenient. To be clear, sometimes there's going to be a situation where it does make sense for the woman to be driving a man around. Okay, I'm not painting this in the most black and white possible way. For example, let's say that a man is really hurt and he broke his leg or something. Obviously, it makes sense for a woman to be driving if they don't want to get into an accident. But that's still going to be somewhat depolarizing, right? It's not going to be optimal, but it's practically speaking, it makes more sense. In my relationship, prior to me learning about polarity about 5 years ago and starting to polarize my marriage, for the first 3.5 years that we were together, we would travel up north together. We lived in Toronto in Canada, and we'd travel up to northern Ontario to visit my parents. And it was a long drive. It was a 7-8 hour drive. And I would lead her to drive usually at least half the time, because I would get really sleepy. I'd have a hamburger and then I wouldn't keep my eyes open anymore. And she would end up doing, let's say, half of the drive. This shifted after I learned about polarity, where I no longer let her drive. I don't allow her to drive. Now, that whole allowing thing can be very triggering for a woman, because a woman doesn't want to be forced to do anything or to not do anything. It's all about freedom. I should be allowed to do whatever you want. Yes, you should be allowed to do whatever you want outside of a relationship, right? But in a relationship, there should be certain rules and expectations. Just like one of those rules is you guys shouldn't be cheating on each other. Another, I think, healthy expectation is that a man shouldn't be ogling other women when you guys are out together, or really ever, whether you're out together or not, right? Is that a stifling of his freedom? Yes, it is. But a healthy man would choose that willingly because he wants to create a loving and safe container energetically and physically for his woman. So in the same way, a woman should be willing to not drive, but it's more than that, right? Because it's actually in her benefit. It's fully in her benefit. I don't allow my wife to drive anymore when I'm with her because I don't want her to have to be in that masculine energy. I don't want her to have to feel that discomfort of being in the driver's seat, just like it would be uncomfortable to be in the driver's seat in a relationship, right? Being in the literal driver's seat in a car, I don't want her to have to experience that. And I also don't want to experience being in the more feminine role in the passenger seat. It just doesn't feel good for either of us. So I set a boundary. Now, is this about forcing my wife into that role? No. She goes there willingly, and that's what submission is all about, right? A healthy man, if a woman has resistance in any way, he's going to lead her through that resistance so that her choice can be a full yes. Instead of it being like, oh, he's forcing me to do this and I have no choice, it's, oh, now I understand. I am going to trust my man's lead. I am going to make this choice willingly because it makes sense, number one, and because I respect my man. And also, if a woman's really in touch with her feminine energy, then also because I don't want to be in my masculine energy. That doesn't feel good. I want to be in my feminine energy. So a healthy masculine man would set this boundary for his woman. A man who is not fully in touch with his masculine instinct and doesn't understand his role of leading his relationship, he's not going to set this boundary. He's going to be okay with his woman sometimes being in the driver's seat. I will drive that entire 7 hours now by myself, and I'm actually energized to do it. Before learning about polarity, I wasn't energized. I'm energized simply because I now enjoy being in that role and unburdening my woman, my wife, from being in her masculine energy. So it's able to keep me going for those full 7 hours. And there is this feeling of, call it goodness, maybe a little bit of pride, a little bit of joy, a little bit of happiness, a little bit of just a sense of responsibility of being in that role where it's like, I am doing something to take care of you. And the inverse would also be true for my wife, where it's just this feeling of kind of joy and receptivity and openness and softness, where it's like, he's doing something to take care of me in this role. That is how it should be. Now, if we are driving 24 hours straight for some crazy reason, then I might have to adjust, right? If I cannot keep my eyes open and it becomes a safety issue halfway along the trip, then I might have to adjust. But in general, a masculine man should be making this choice throughout his relationship. Now understand, we're talking about an actual practical thing in a car, in a driver's seat. The man is driving the woman around, and he's not allowing his woman to drive. But let's take this further. Let's apply this to the entire relationship, because this is how I lead my relationship with my wife. I don't let her drive our relationship. I don't let her make the decisions. I don't let her be the one that is telling me what to do or telling us what to do or make the plans. That doesn't mean that she has no autonomy. First of all, she's always has the choice to not follow my leadership. And it also doesn't mean that her needs aren't being taken care of, because in all of my decisions, well, some of my decisions I'm just anticipating what she needs and I don't have to ask her anything. In some of my other decisions, I'm asking her about what she needs. I'm asking her about what feels good. I'm asking her about what will make her feel happy, will bring her ease. So she is putting in her input, but then I am making the final decision. And again, that's to take that burden off of her so that she can stay in her feminine energy. She gets to just follow my leadership. This is how a healthy relationship is supposed to be. It's really the only way that a relationship can be truly healthy. Other relationships that are organized in a different way, they can still be functional. Right? My relationship was functional before I learned about polarity, but it wasn't truly healthy because it wasn't conforming to my wife's and my masculine and feminine instincts. Right? My instinct to lead and to take care of my wife, and my wife's instinct to be receptive, to follow, and to respect my lead. And this is what makes a relationship so much better and so much more fulfilling for both man and woman. It becomes like a dance, like a salsa dance. Man's fully leading and the woman gets to fully trust and go along. You get, as a woman, you just get to be taken care of. You get a man who is so in tune with your needs, who is anticipating your needs, who is considering your needs, and who is acting through his decisions to take care of your needs, to make your life easier, to unburden you, to make you feel good, to make you feel loved, to give you love, to plan things for you, to make decisions based on what's going to be best for you, and you get to go along for the ride, and just knowing that you're being taken care of. If you don't currently have a man like that, if you don't tend to attract men who show up in that way, or if you're with a man who's not showing up in that way, but you would like him to be cherishing you in that way and leading and stepping up in that devotional way, I would love to help you do that. This is all about what I help women do. Go below my video here, open up the description, and you're going to see the links to all of my offers that can help you make these shifts, my books, my masterclass, my women's dating course. You can go to any of those, but if you're really resonating with this content and you would like hands-on, devoted support to help you implement these shifts in this communication, then go to my Academy offer at thedreamrelationship.com. Book a call with me. We'll talk all about what's going on in your love life. what you need, what you're not getting. I'll give you some coaching on how to make these shifts, what's missing, and we'll find out together if working together makes sense. And if it does, then you can step into this process, you can start working with us, and we can start helping you create the relationship of your dreams. If that's you, then I'm really looking forward to speaking with you on that call. That's it for this one.